Tonight, it is the Steelers' preseason finale versus the Carolina Panthers in Charlotte. And today on Steelers Talk, I'm going to be breaking down my 5 top storylines that I'm going to be watching out for, and I think other Steelers fans should be watching tonight as the Steelers play their last preseason action before they line up against the New York Jets in the season opener in just a few weeks. Now, before we get into the content today, make sure you guys click that subscribe button and join us. Me and Ponzi will be going live tonight on Steelers Talk for our live watch party, our final preseason watch party of the year. It all starts at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll be doing Super Chat giveaways, an hour of pregame coverage, as well as live play-by-play, and then instant post-game analysis as well. So if you guys want to join us tonight, click that subscribe button and help us get to 90,000 subscribers by the end of the night. All right, so we'll start off today's show by 4 players that head coach Mike Tomlin said earlier this week will not be participating. Aaron Rodgers and DK Metcalf, the 2 players on the offensive side of the ball, and then TJ Watt and Cam Hayward on the defensive side of the ball. There's some people that have some hot takes and some opinions on whether Aaron Rodgers should be playing in the preseason, but I trust head coach Mike Tomlin and Aaron Rodgers to make that decision. Yeah, Rodgers is new to the operation here in Pittsburgh, but if they feel good about where he's at, obviously he's a 20-plus year NFL veteran. I don't have any real concerns about him being able to get the play, to the offense in time, get the playoff in time. That's really what that one drive in the preseason for starters is really all about. So if the Steelers feel comfortable not playing Aaron, I really don't have any issue with it, especially because Carolina's not going to be playing too many of their own starters later this evening. But we get to the storylines that I will be watching when it comes to the Pittsburgh Steelers tonight. The first one, Roman Wilson, obviously a player to watch throughout this preseason. I think that he has at least met expectations, if not exceeded those expectations with the way that he has played. He has been getting open. He's been making nice catches. He's been an explosive playmaker. But can he lock himself in as this team's wide receiver 2 tonight? If he has a couple drops, if he can't get open versus man coverage, especially against the level of players they're going to be playing against tonight, it's certainly possible that accelerates the Steelers' quote-unquote need to get another receiver before the start of the season. But if he can go out there, and he is going to be heavily kind of featured in tonight's game plan because DK Metcalf and Calvin Austin III will be out. But looking at Roman Wilson, I think that he is going to probably get the ball early and often like we've seen the first 2 preseason games. If he continues to play well and he continues to show himself as somebody that could be a legitimate starting receiver for the Pittsburgh Steelers this year, I think that could lock himself in as this team's number 2 receiver heading into the year. Then we get into the run game here, and obviously there's a lot of ire when it comes to the run game here in Pittsburgh among the fan base, among those who cover the team, because, in camp it's been reportedly not fantastic. They didn't do a great job against the Buccaneers in their joint practice. And then in the preseason games as a whole, even though it's been mostly the second team unit and third team units out there, the run game has not looked terrific to start the preseason and in training camp. But my guess, we're going to see a more run-heavy approach in game script from the first team offense. We're going to see Jaylen Warren for the first time this preseason as well. And he's going to be the number 1 featured back to start the season. So I think, with DK out, with Calvin out, I think that what they're going to do is they're going to get into more heavy personnel and they're going to run the football a lot more in that kind of first 2 series where the starters are going to be out there. And then once the starters are out of the game, I do think we're going to get Caleb Johnson quite a bit tonight. I think they want to give him as many reps as they can to get his feet wet in the National Football League. I think last week showed that, the more reps that he is getting, the more that he looks comfortable. Right now, among running backs in the National Football League, a lot of people don't realize this, Caleb Johnson leads the National Football League in forced tackles or forced missed tackles through the preseason to this point with 7. So he's actually done a pretty decent job through the first 2 preseason games, in my opinion, guys, given the level of blocking that he's been getting. And I'm excited to see KJ run quite a bit, and I do think he's going to be getting quite a bit of run here in this preseason finale. Then we get into another offensive key to watch tonight, which is how much heavy personnel do we see tonight from offensive coordinator Arthur Smith. Now, OCs in the National Football League during the preseason usually don't want to give away their bag of tricks, and I don't think anything too special is going to be out there tonight. But I do think that we could see a lot more heavier, tight end personnel tonight because the Steelers are going to play quite a bit of that this season. And tonight we're going to see Pat Freiermuth and Jonnu Smith on the preseason turf for the first time this year as well. So that's going to be the first time that Darnell Washington, Jonnu Smith, and Pat Freiermuth are all going to be available for a preseason game. And, we haven't seen too much 13 personnel to this point in the preseason. So I think that we're going to see some of that tonight, especially with that first team unit, because it's really going to be so important, guys, for this unit to be able to execute from 13 personnel and have those 3 tight ends on the field at one time, all right? That's going to give the Steelers part of their competitive edge because Darnell Washington essentially gives them a 6th offensive lineman in the run blocking fit, but also it gives you the versatility to pass the football with Jonnu Smith and Pat Freiermuth out there as well. So I do think that we're going to see quite a heavy dose of 13 personnel tonight, especially because DK Metcalf and Calvin Austin III are not going to be good to go. So I do think 12 and 13 personnel could be quite a bit on the menu tonight, especially for that first team unit. So let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. How many drives will we see the quote-unquote starters on offense tonight? Do you think it's going to be 2 drives, 3 drives, a quarter? Let me know what you think what we got down there in the comment section for today's pinned question. In just a second here, I'm going to let you guys know a great opportunity to get an awesome piece of Steelers apparel. But before I do that, go down there in the comment section and let me know how many drives the Steelers starters are going to get this evening. And with that, let's have a word from our sponsor here where you guys can get an Aaron Rodgers Steelers jersey today just in time for the start of the 2025 NFL season. You can go chatsports.com/AR8. That is our special link that is down in the comments and description of today's show. And when you guys click that link, and you make a purchase, our sponsor is going to send us part of the proceeds. So if you guys want to help us out today, and you guys want to help yourself out as well by getting an Aaron Rodgers jersey in your closet, go to chatsports.com/AR8 today. So tonight we will, or at least Mike Tomlin alluded to the idea that we're going to see pretty much the entire first-team defense and the entire first-team secondary out there tonight. And all we've heard all training camp is how good this secondary looks with Jalen Ramsey and Joey Porter Jr. and Darius Slay and Deshaun Elliott and Juan Thornhill. And Mike Tomlin alluded to the idea earlier in the week that all these guys are going to play. All right, the only 2 defensive starters that are not slated to play tonight are Cam Hayward and TJ Watt. All right, but Jalen Ramsey and this secondary have been really the story of training camp outside of Aaron Rodgers, of course, but they have absolutely exceeded expectations, and this is going to be looking like a unit that, in years past has been a weakness, but heading into this year is going to be a big-time strength. So especially, if the Carolina Panthers play a limited amount of their starters tonight, I want to see this unit be absolutely dominant, whether they only play 1 or 2 drives. I want them to absolutely shut down the Carolina Panthers tonight. So make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon if you haven't already. If you are excited about the preseason finale tonight, Steelers versus Panthers. Next time, we're doing a watch party outside of today, it's going to be a regular season game. So the season's coming up right around the corner, guys. If you're excited about it, click that thumbs up icon if you haven't already. All right, so now the final storyline to watch for me, guys, is which bubble players are going to show out. Now, I think at this point, the Steelers coaching staff probably have a good idea as to which guys are going to make the team, which guys are not. But that doesn't mean that, especially Mike Tomlin, who really cherishes in-stadium play, might still be weighing a couple of decisions here. And 6 bubble players that I'm watching tonight. Skylar Thompson, obviously there's a little bit of a debate going on right now whether or not Thompson or Will Howard should be the QB3 heading into the season. We'll have to see on that. If he balls out tonight, they might be a little bit more inclined to keep Will Howard on the IR and maybe give him a little bit more time to heal up. But if Skylar does not play well tonight, he's a lot more likely to get cut. Brandon Johnson, right now as it stands, if the Steelers keep 6 receivers, I think he would be the 6th receiver. So if he plays well tonight, maybe that fends off a potential wide receiver acquisition. We'll see. I still think the Steelers are probably going to add a different receiver at some point here, but Brandon Johnson has a hell of a game. That might change things. He's had a really good camp. And then Keshawn Williams, he's probably going to get quite a bit of run as the punt returner once again tonight. If he makes a big splash play, like say he returns a punt for a touchdown, that might be the type of play that could get him a roster spot. Then you got James Pierre, who's made some splash plays in camp. He's had some lapses in coverage during the preseason, however. He's certainly a bubble player that needs to play well tonight. Same thing with Beanie Bishop Jr. We'll see if Dante Kent is able to go. I know Dante was able to practice this week, but Beanie has been somebody that's been up and down throughout the preseason. I thought last week he played a lot better than in week 1. If he has another strong performance tonight, I think he locks himself into this 53-man roster. And then Sebastian Castro, UDFA out of Iowa, had a really good week last week, really instinctive. Was really laying the boom down on a couple of big hits coming down from the heavens. I like Sebastian Castro's game, guys, and if he can have a really good performance tonight, who knows? He might be able to earn himself a 53-man roster spot or at least lock himself in as a practice squad stash. So predict it for me down there in the comment section. Who will be the most surprising cut that the Steelers make this year? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section, who you think will be the most surprising cut candidate for the Steelers this year. Mine would probably be, Robert Woods. If we're talking about surprises from the beginning of training camp, he was somebody that going into camp was seen as like a lock to make this team. And going into tonight, it kind of feels like, he's definitely not going to make this team. So kind of a fall from grace from Bobby Trees, unfortunately. But we'll see how he does tonight as well. That'll be it for today's edition of Steelers Talk, guys. We'll be back later tonight with our watch party coverage. Of course, if the Steelers sign like Gabe Davis later this afternoon or something, we'll get you guys a video, potentially even go live a little bit early. We'll see on the timing of that. But make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already, and join us at 6 p.m. Eastern later tonight for our final preseason watch party.